Most people don't hate wrong ideas. They hate something far more dangerous. They hate the moment you stop thinking like them. The truth is, the herd doesn't fear your opinion, it fears your independence, because the second you say, "I see with my own eyes," you break something invisible, a silent agreement that keeps everyone comfortable. Think about it. If you disagree quietly, no one cares. But the moment you stand alone, really alone, people react not because you're wrong, but because you had the courage to think without permission, and that is unforgivable. This is what Arthur Schopenhauer understood. He saw that society isn't built on truth, it's built on alignment. The herd doesn't unite around what is true, it unites around what feels safe. And nothing is more dangerous than someone who proves you can think differently and survive. That's why throughout history the same pattern repeats. Socrates wasn't killed because he was wrong, he was killed because he asked questions no one else dared to ask. His existence exposed something terrifying that people weren't thinking, they were following. The same idea appears again with Friedrich Nietzsche. He said the greatest crime is not violence, it's stepping outside shared morality. Because when you do that, you don't just challenge an idea, you challenge the entire system that holds people together. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't want truth, they want reassurance, they want to feel like they belong. Like they're right because everyone around them agrees. This is exactly what Emile Durkheim explained. Society creates its own beliefs, its own rules, its own normal, and anyone who steps outside of it is labeled as something weird, dangerous, unstable. Not because they are, but because they broke the illusion of unity. Now it gets deeper, because psychologically this isn't even about you, it's about them. Sigmund Freud called this projection. What people hate in you is often what they fear in themselves. Your independence reminds them of something they abandoned, the ability to think freely. So instead of facing that fear, they attack you, not the idea. You look at history, Galileo was punished for saying the earth isn't the center. Giordano Bruno was burned for saying the universe is infinite. Martin Luther was condemned for challenging the church. None of them were dangerous because of their ideas. They were dangerous because they said them out loud. That's the pattern. Truth isn't the threat, courage is, and this doesn't just live in history. It's happening right now every day. You see it on social media. Someone says something different and suddenly they're attacked, mocked, isolated, not debated, destroyed, because the herd acts like an immune system. Anything unfamiliar gets rejected. Fast psychology proved this. In a famous experiment, people were asked to choose the correct answer between obvious lines. The answer was clear. But when the group chose the wrong answer, most people followed, even when they knew it was wrong. Why? Because being wrong together feels safer than being right alone. Another experiment went further. People were told to give electric shocks to someone else, and they did, not because they were evil, but because authority told them to. This reveals something disturbing. Obedience is stronger than truth, as long as responsibility is shared with the group. Now think about your own life. How many opinions do you actually hold because you believe them? And how many? Because it's easier not to question them. This is where the real conflict begins. You have two choices, and there is no third option. You either belong and stop thinking too much, or think freely and accept being alone. That's why Albert Camus said, freedom is meaningless if it doesn't include the risk of loneliness. Because the herd offers you something very tempting, identity, ready-made. No effort required, just agree and you belong. But the price is high. You lose your ability to see with your own eyes. And today, the system is stronger than ever. In the past, you faced a king or a priest. Now, you face millions. The herd is no longer local, it's global. One post, one opinion, one sentence, and suddenly you're exposed to thousands of judgments. This is what Gustave Le Bon warned about. Inside a crowd, people stop thinking as individuals. They become part of a wave. A wave that doesn't ask, is this true? But is this accepted? And if it's not, you already know what happens. You're not corrected. You're erased. That's why the modern world feels free, but isn't. You can say anything, but only within invisible limits. Step outside them, and the reaction is immediate. Mockery, isolation, silencing. Not because you're wrong, but because you broke the rhythm. And here's the final paradox. The same herd that rejects you today may celebrate you tomorrow. Vincent van Gogh died unknown. Now his work is priceless. Nelson Mandela was called a terrorist, then became a symbol of freedom. The herd always does the same thing. It punishes the different, then honors them when it's safe. Because once the danger is gone, the courage becomes beautiful. But when it's alive, it's threatening, so understand this clearly. If people resist you, it doesn't automatically mean you're right, but it also doesn't mean you're wrong. It may simply mean you stepped outside the system. And that is something most people are too afraid to do, because thinking for yourself isn't just freedom, it's a burden. No guarantees, no protection, no crowd behind you. Just you and your thoughts, and maybe that's the real reason the herd hates the different one. Not because he's wrong, but because he proves something terrifying that you could have thought for yourself and didn't. And in the end, truth isn't comfortable, it's not safe, it doesn't unite people. It separates them, and maybe it's not a reward, maybe it's a wound, but at least it's yours.